Welcome to the Buck Stops here, the official podcast of NotHallOfFame.com, and I'm your host, The Buck, Kirk Buckner, the owner and the operator of NotHallOfFame.com, and the sister sites, the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame and the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're a couple weeks removed away from the NFL draft, and that's pretty much the springboard of where greatness begins when we're looking at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is a big factor of what we look at. We didn't really touch on that today, but Vinny Lospinuso, our resident expert in all things football, wanted to give his opinions on that, and of course we said yes. How can we not? It's Vinny. And he's a guy named Vinny from New York, so don't you sort of want to listen to anything that Vinny from New York has to say? Aren't you a little bit scared? No? Well, maybe you shouldn't be, but it's still entertaining. Without further ado, here's Vinny. Vinny, hope you're keeping safe in Long Island. What's the good word there?
So far, it looks like the amount of deaths and the amount of cases have gone down by the day. That's good. However, I would say that for the sake of Long Island and the rest of New York State, I hope we don't open too soon because I don't want us to be mocked or even vilified like Georgia, nor do we want anything else to bad happen. I don't want another spike to happen down the road, so we just got to take it day by day.
Yeah, here we're not nearly as bad here in Barbados. We're at 80 cases in total. So, for the most part, things are a lot less morbid, you could say. But we're actually in a much stricter lockdown than my home country of Canada and your nation of the U.S. So, there's a lot. Things are a lot stricter here. There's actually an alcohol ban, which has been in place for the last few weeks. So I think there in New York, are restaurants even open for takeout?
No.
Oh, they're not open at all now?
They're open for takeout. They're not open for you to sit down and eat. Yeah,
so here they're not even open for takeout.
Wow. Well, how are you able to eat then?
Well, just it's basically on the first letter of your last name is when you're allowed to go grocery shopping.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. So that way the grocery stores are not flooded with people. So, for example, with my last name starting with B, I can go grocery shopping on Monday afternoons and Friday mornings.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, they're not playing around here. They're doing a much stricter lockdown than anybody else I'm aware of.
Well, New Zealand might eradicate the virus completely on their island.
That's I've been sort of seeing that they've been doing a fantastic job. South Korea's done a great job, but this is sort of a morbid way to begin. The NFL draft has come and gone, and I want to talk to you about your draft days because you were a lot more involved than I was. You were part of was it a Zoom cast? Tell us about what you were doing for draft days.
With me, outside of WRHU and also this and the stuff that I do in my own free time, I also work for a man by the name of Vinny Abraham, who works for Oakland News Now. It's his own website. Mm-hmm. I've been a part of his. He's been my boss since October, where he actually found me on Twitter, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And he's a very, very hard work ethic. He's from Oakland, so yeah, he is a Raiders fan. But don't worry, he's not one of those weird. He's pretty objective when it comes down to it. He's much more of a guy that takes an open mind. So I think that's good.
So who else? So yeah, was a part of it was a 5-man show or 5-person show?
As many as 5-6 people come and gone. I've done the draft every single one of the days. So I spent a total of around, 5 hours for the first day, another 5 hours, maybe 6 hours for the second day. For the third day, I came in halfway in between because I had work before, so I was on for another 3 hours. So I was on basically over 12 hours of draft coverage.
So who were some of the other personalities with you and Zenny?
Well, there was a Dave who's from the UK. Donald, he's from San Fran. Beth, she came and went. She's from the area as well of San Fran. My fact that Zenny is from Oakland. He was living in Atlanta. Also, Anthony was there. Steve was there. The last name escaped me, but essentially they all came and went. Mm-hmm. I was there every single day along with Zenny.
Yeah, and people were watching that on YouTube. I saw your link. I was going back and forth between that and the ESPN coverage because I certainly wanted to see what you had to say about some of that. For myself personally, watching this, it was definitely surreal seeing this, seeing it emanate, I guess, from Commissioner Goodell's basement. And when he was all in on Boo the Commish, I was not happy with that. You're not supposed to be on the joke there, Roger.
I didn't know there was a rule for that there, Kirk.
Well, there's a rule. No, he's not supposed to know that we all think he's incompetent. That was not fun. I did not enjoy that. I did get a kick out of watching everyone in their living room, some people in their some of the draft potential or draftees in their t-shirts, some in their full duds. It was pretty interesting, and just how some dogs were the stars of the show. I personally hope it stays like this going forward. If there's any good that sort of came out of the coronavirus, I would say this draft was one of them.
Well, actually, you're thinking about how you want it to be like that. You actually will, because Goodell was saying in day 3 how for future drafts, while it's still going to be a public event next year in Cleveland, they're saying that there's going to be still a lot more of an intimacy like it was here, like the conference call, and you'd see the cameras there. It's a lot more intimate. It's going to be a lot more, It's going to be a bigger focus. So I like that personally because it gets a much, much wider net of people, and it just makes it feel more at home. I like that idea.
Yeah. So that was my thumbs up for them. My thumbs down is, and I think I'm one of the many people to sort of say this, it felt like there was a bit of tragedy porn. Like you're going a little bit too far. Like we don't need to know that some of the draftees, and they even had this in a bubble. The mother was on cocaine for 16 years. So why?
Yeah, I should mention that it did seem like with a good number of them, like there was a lot of like this person's father died, this person's grandfather died, this person's brother died, this person's mother died. I'm like, man, that's a lot. Like, geez, a lot of these people come from tragedies. Holy hell, geez. Like, I mean, that's a situation where I really don't know how to react to it because there was just so much of it that it just became kind of like white noise. I do feel bad for the families, though I do feel like, it could be perceived as too much for some cases.
I thought it was. I thought it definitely was. It's one thing if, and I believe it was Chase Young, who they've got a picture of I think it was his grandfather, right? So, they're bringing attention to it. So, I mean, that's part of the story. It's quite another when ESPN just sort of like brings in a bunch of stuff that nobody really needs to know. I mean, it's the biggest day, one of the biggest days of their career, of their life. There's enough drama there that you don't have to manufacture some stuff that's just not that relevant.
I would say that, we don't need to know again and again about this person's mother died. Okay, like, I do feel like, yes, but, like, it would just seem like a lot. And not only that, you had the coronavirus stuff. In a way, it felt it was happy, but at the same time, it was equally as depressing. It kind of felt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, you did a great job on your job with Zenny, and I wanted to tell you this. It's going to be inspiring us to do something very similar in the future. When I think we're going to get a bunch of people together and sort of like have our mock Hall of Fame selection committee and broadcast that. So you'll be part of those.
And yes, obviously on those. Bill Carroll was also on. He popped in and out a little bit, and I did mention Hall of Fame stuff with him. And he knew me ahead of time. He knew that I was always big into the very old kind of guys, Applefinger, Wallace, Younger, all those guys. Mm-hmm. So I think that was pretty.
Yeah. So there's a few things that I want to get your initial reaction on. We're not going to go team by team because it's been done to death, and I think everyone from their fan base has really sort of done a deep dive into that. What I really want to get from you is just some of your general thoughts. The first one is, Vinny, who won the draft in your opinion? What team won the draft?
What do you mean by won the draft? As in the team I thought made the great value? Because we're just talking picks alone, the Minnesota Vikings. In fact, if you were to compare all the total grades in total, the Minnesota Vikings had the best draft. However, I don't think they had the best draft. I think they had a top 3 draft, but I think it also helps when you have 15 draft picks. Mm-hmm. I would say the team that I personally thought had the best draft was the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people have been saying that too. Yep.
It's the team that had the best record in the NFL last year, had the number 1 seed, and they lost, obviously, in the divisional round against the underdog Tennessee Titans. And, it's not like it's all doom and gloom for the Ravens. Them and the Chiefs are the 2 favorites out of the AFC. But the Ravens sit back and say, we have an MVP quarterback too. We are a team that can go toe-to-toe with you guys. How can we prove we are better than the Super Bowl champions, even though we had a better record than them last year, but didn't get it done? What can we do to make us better? And sure enough, while other teams either traded up or stayed pat and took a linebacker, the Ravens stayed pat, didn't do anything, and took the best linebacker in the draft in the second half of the first round in Patrick Queen. This is a guy that many people thought, including myself, was the best linebacker in the draft. And you get Calais Campbell now. And, hey, Matt Judon is probably not going to be with the team after this season. So who are we going to have to replace him? Patrick Queen. I'd say that's a pretty good pick. And also when you look at the Ravens as well, you take J.K. Dobbins, nice running back to have alongside Gus Edwards and Mark Ingram. And just for a cherry on top, you have Devin Duvernay fall to you in the 3rd round. And you address really every position that you needed to address. You address the line, receiver, defensive back, tackle help, and you even got just Tyre Phillips, who at that point was arguably the best interior lineman on the board in replace of Marshall Yanda, who is now a member of that fantastic 2025 first-year eligibles, which I'll get to that near the end. But, man, a really, really quality draft class by the Baltimore Ravens. Who was the winner in your eyes?
Oh, Baltimore was definitely a winner to me also. Baltimore is the one that a lot of people have pegged as the winner that I thought that almost instantly as well.
Mm-hmm.
You said you got a second one. Who's your other one that you thought after Minnesota?
Besides Minnesota, the Dallas Cowboys. I thought the Cowboys had the best draft out of the NFC. This is the team that easily, after watching this, said, yeah, they're going to win the division this year. Mike McCarthy coming in as your head coach, a guy with a proven track record, made the playoffs many times, 4 NFC championship games. As much as you want to say Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, yeah, but there's many other great coaches with quarterbacks, and they don't make it as much. The Packers, under Mike McCarthy as head coach, made the playoffs 9 out of 10 seasons. That's just incredibly dominant. In 4 NFC championship game appearances, it's pretty impressive. And now he's come to a Dallas Cowboys team that has Dak Prescott, and he wants to try to get a big contract. So what do? You keep Ezekiel Elliott, you keep Amari Cooper, and you take CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb falls to you at pick 17, and Jerry on his yacht saying, CeeDee, I want you to come down to Dallas and be a Cowboy. And then CeeDee Lamb tries to nudge his girlfriend away and says, hell yeah, man, I'm going down to Big D right now. But I can't quarantine. Damn. Yeah.
That's not gonna be the last time that he pushes his girlfriend away. But yeah, I saw that clip. That was awesome.
But outside of that, Lamb was obviously a great pick, but it's more than just that. You have Trayvon Diggs in the 2nd round, who very good value here. He's a nice replacement for Byron Jones. You also replaced Travis Frederick, who retired, with Tyler Biadasz out of Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Another good move. Neville Gallimore in the 3rd round. Another high-quality pick from the Dallas Cowboys. And even Reggie Robinson. Again, a really quality draft from the Dallas Cowboys, and I'd be stunned if they don't win a division this year.
Yeah, Dallas is poised for something great. Feels like we've been talking about that, like Dallas being just on the cusp for a while. We'll see if they're able to take that next step. So those are three teams that you think has won the draft. Who lost the draft? Who were you, like, right after everything was over, you're thinking, like, what the hell were they thinking? They had months to prepare, and this is what they came up with.
Well, this is a no-brainer. The Green Bay Packers.
Right from their first pick?
Oh, well, yeah, they were by far, they had the worst draft. I mean, this is the team that was one game away from going to the Super Bowl. This is the team that, after missing the playoffs for 2 straight seasons, went 13-3, won their division, the second seed, you had a first-round bye, you beat the Seahawks, but then you got kicked the crap out by the 49ers again. And now, the Packers, you would think, okay, we didn't beat the 49ers. What can we do to beat the 49ers? What can we do to make ourselves better than the San Francisco 49ers? What can we do to establish ourselves as the best team in the NFC? And they didn't do that. Instead, you decided to trade up to get Jordan Love. Now, Jordan Love, he's a bit of a raw talent. He hasn't had a consistent coach, so it's really hard to peg. However, Aaron Rodgers isn't too pleased, as he got a 4-year contract extension a year ago, and if you were to cut him, you would have a lot of dead cap. I think now looking, and Love is going to be on the bench for 2 seasons, maybe 3. I mean, how long is Rodgers going to be a Packer? Is he going to get traded somewhere? I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen now, because I'm just very, very puzzled by this move. And guys, when this was happening, I thought they were going to trade up to get someone like Patrick Queen, because they really need to help at linebacker with Blake Martinez going. But instead, they don't get someone to help them win now. They get someone that's going to be for their future, which is fine. But at the same time, Rodgers isn't going anywhere. There are better quarterbacks than Jordan Love that are going to be available in next year's draft. So, I don't know. I think that Love would have been there in the second round too, probably. Like, this is a reach. And I also look at A.J. Dillon, the running back at a Boston College. I mean, this is another reach. He would have been there probably. He would have been there in the third round. You're already pretty deep at running back. Why did you need another one? Aaron Jones led the league in touchdowns. Jamal Williams is another good quality running back. I mean, did you have to get a running back that's high? And, Josiah Deguara, I mean, I don't know. His arms are kind of short. His hands are kind of short. He has speed, but I don't know. And then when you also look at other players, I don't know. I wasn't really big on them, but I think the biggest L they took is the fact that in a loaded wide receiver class, you don't have anyone else really outside of Devontae Adams, and you decide to take 0 wide receivers. 0. That boggles my mind. I mean, you're going to hitch your wagon to Devin Funchess? Really? You're going to hitch your wagon to Devin Funchess? How's that going to work out for you?
It wasn't the move of a team that thinks they're Super Bowl ready.
No, this is a team that I think LaFleur is trying to stick it to Rodgers.
That's a pretty petty thing to do.
Oh, what?
Well, it's a really petty thing to do on something this important.
Yeah, because apparently there's friction between. Either way, I can understand maybe thinking to Rodgers, but understand Rodgers. There's 53 players on the roster. Okay, forget what Rodgers says. What message does that bring to the other players in that locker room? The fact that loaded wide receiver class, apparently the best wide receiver class we've seen in 20 years at least. And you do not take a single wide receiver.
Not one.
At all.
Not one in any round. Yeah, that was it was shocking. It made no sense to me. For me, I'd have to totally agree with you again. I'd give them a complete F on this draft class. I don't think there's anyone else that I would say was a total F. But is there anyone that you were? Is there any other team that you were that you thought really missed the boat here?
Well, they're the notable one. Everyone else had that kind of draft, but the Packers had a really bad draft. That's a team I could safely say had a bad draft. But if I were to say some other teams, I was just kind of like, puzzled by their moves. It's not because I hated their draft, and I don't know. I was kind of questioning. If there was one team I was also kind of questioning the philosophy of, especially early, it was probably I don't know. I'd probably say the Las Vegas Raiders. It's kind of weird to say that now. Now they had some picks that kind of like. I love the pick of Henry Ruggs personally, but then they draft Damon Arnett with their second pick. Arnett, a guy that would have been there in the third round, maybe even the fourth round. And you massively reach, instead of taking a guy like a Patrick Queen or Jeff Gladney, you take someone that was, in most boards, the 9th or 10th best ranked corner. And then in the third round, you add a second and a third wide receiver. And it just feels like, Zenny was saying how Mark Davis, bringing Las Vegas, he wants to have revenue because the Raiders are kind of cap struck because they're still paying Jack Del Rio to not coach the team. Yeah, I get it, but even for Mark, Henry Ruggs, I love this pick. The only question I have is Carr and Mariota are not the kinds of quarterbacks that are known for throwing it deep. And Ruggs is a guy who's used as a deep threat, a quality deep threat. And seeing Ruggs, I like the player. I just hope that for Carr's sake, he's the kind of fit that they would need. And as for Bowden Jr., he's another fast guy, but I don't know. I'm not crazy. And then Brian Edwards, he's a different receiver, but, why take two receivers? Why take two receivers here? Like seriously, back-to-back picks on receivers? Meanwhile, you needed help at corner, but you reached for one, and you need help a linebacker, and you didn't address it. It was just a weird draft by the Raiders. I think there's some good pieces, but there's some I'm really scratching my head and saying, some of these are a couple reaches.
Okay, so another one that I want, what was, for you, out of all of that, the best value, not the best pick, but the best value pick in the entire draft?
I would say the first two picks by the Arizona Cardinals, easily. Whatever the Cardinals did was high value when I looked at them. Isaiah Simmons, letting a player who can be used as a Swiss Army knife in the defense, let him fall to you at pick 8, tremendous value. And even bigger value, I would say, is Josh Jones, a guy that many people thought would make it in the middle to end of round 1. You let him slide to you all the way in the third round. That's mind-boggling to me that the Cardinals were able to make these picks that were such high value. I go with Josh Jones. I go with Josh Jones or Isaiah Simmons in terms of a value pick because I was very impressed by that.
Yes, which remains to be sort of the antithesis of Houston, who had they had that big trade. Another team that I didn't think did particularly well in the draft, but
no, hell no.
Why should they do anything right now?
Why was Bill O'Brien yelling at the computer? I can understand, I can understand maybe from the Patriots' perspective, if Belichick was upset that Nike, his Husky, was making the picks instead of him. If you're talking about the kicker that the Patriots took, which I'm not really going into that because it's a little too murky. But as for the Texans, yeah, whatever they do from here on out, I'm going to have with immense skepticism because, really, Jonathan Creenard, really. I don't know. I didn't think they had a good draft either, the Texans.
Yeah. Was there anything else that just really stood out to you? Oh my God, perfect value. I can't believe they got this guy at this pick.
Well, this is a bit of a curve. I'm going to go with one, but I'm also not. The Washington Redskins got by the San Francisco 49ers. Absolutely fleeced. Trent Williams, a 7-time Pro Bowler. You shipped him to the defending NFC champions, and you got a 5th-round pick in return. So you're replacing Joe Staley, who just retired, with Trent Williams. I mean, talk about quality, talk about value. And Williams, even though he missed a year, not really his fault. And Staley, he was on a steady decline. He did make the All-Decade team, and Williams was probably not too far off. Him and Swartz were probably not too far off from making a team like Staley. And Staley, he's along with Yonda, along with Weddle and Manning and several others, is now on that long list of those 2025 first-year eligibles for the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And you replace with Trent Williams. Wow. I think that's incredible value for a guy that people thought they would have to give up a 1st-round pick to get. The Niners only have to give up a 5th.
I want your take on somebody who I thought was one of the greatest values of the 1st round, and we'll see if you agree with me or not on this. The wide receiver for the Broncos, Jerry Jeudy, falling to 15th overall. I think that's a superstar.
I thought that was good value. However, I don't know if it was as high of a value as the Cowboys getting CeeDee Lamb, because people didn't expect the top 3 wide receivers. I mean, a couple mocks still had Jeudy or Lamb going to the Broncos. Not many of them had Lamb, Jeudy, or Ruggs going to the Cowboys. Because I'm more impressed with the Cowboys taking Lamb than the Broncos Jeudy for that reason.
No, fair enough.
It's good value, but not as high as Lamb going to the Cowboys.
Okay. And so what was sort of the worst value picks? I know you were harsh on, and like a lot of people, harsh on the Jordan Love pick. Which could, we don't know. Down the road, this could turn out to be a phenomenal pick. It's just it's certainly not doing a whole lot for your short-term future, that's for sure. But was there anything that's what the hell are they doing?
Eagles taking Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round.
Oh my God. That blew my mind.
The Eagles, Zenny's big on Jalen Hurts. I'm fine with Jalen Hurts. I have nothing against Jalen Hurts. I'm just questioning the Eagles. Is Jalen Hurts going to be? They said he's going to be used in a Taysom Hill kind of role. Okay, but do you take? How valuable is that? Take someone like that in the 2nd round. I think Hurts would have been taken in the 2nd, maybe 3rd as well. But by a team that already has a quarterback, yes, he's been banged up here and there. But he still managed to throw for 4,000 yards last season, despite having no receivers having 500 or more yards. He was able to do that, Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
And Jalen Hurts, is he going to be their guy for the future? Even though you gave Wentz that contract extension, I'm really puzzled by this move. For the Eagles' sake, they're pretty lucky that they had a good day 3, because that Jalen Hurts pick is just. Maybe he fits better in Doug Peterson's system. True, but what kind of statement does that say for Carson Wentz? It just seems so bizarre. It's such a bizarre move. You need a backup quarterback, but this high? Did you need to take one this high?
No, not at all. They certainly didn't. That was the one that I think almost everyone was agreeing with you on that one. Is there another one that just sort of took you by surprise? What other pick was just what the hell are they thinking?
The Seattle Seahawks. Why would you take Jordan Brooks 1 pick ahead of Patrick Queen when most people have Patrick Queen as by far the best player in that board, and you take a guy that was barely sniffing top 3?
Yeah, Queen fell quite a bit. I didn't really understand why that was.
My guess is that maybe they saw a bigger fit when it came to Jordan Brooks. I don't know. They're both outside linebackers, if I recall. Patrick Queen's more inside, Jordan Brooks is more outside, but at that point, Brooks was a bit of a reach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm puzzled by that. Just 1 pick before Patrick Queen. Really, 1 pick before Patrick Queen. And the Ravens take him, a team that had the best record in the league last year, arguably gets even stronger. And the Seahawks I mean, the NFC West is going to be loaded with them, the Cardinals, the Rams, and, of course, the 49ers. I don't know what the Seahawks really did much to separate themselves ahead of a team like the Cardinals, who really improved in this draft. So it's going to be a competitive West, and I don't know if the Seahawks did enough to really put themselves over the Niners, and that Jordan Brooks pick is the biggest example of that.
So I got a couple more questions that I want to go to you before we sort of look at the 2025 class group of first eligible Hall of Famers that got a little bit thicker this week. Do you agree with Miami's pick with Tua over Herbert?
I mean, what's weird about it is that people want Herbert. What I don't understand what's going on with draft Twitter is because they wanted the Dolphins. Some of them wanted to take the Dolphins take Herbert over Tua because of the draft, but because Herbert was the guy taken, they'll say, "Oh, Herbert's going to be this awful quarterback." The Chargers massively reached here, even though most people saw him going in the top 10. Like what? Like most people saw. I mean, I'm hearing some people say, "Oh, he's worse than Trubisky." I'm like, what? But as for Tua to the Dolphins, hey, Tua has the upside. I'm down with it too.
Yeah, I was
cleared medically. I'd go with Tua as well. As for Herbert's a quality pick. Near these guys, you have to play right away. They can sit behind, Fitzpatrick and Taylor. So I have no issue with them.
Who do you think starts first, Tua or Herbert?
I'm gonna go with Tua.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Fitzpatrick, because Fitzpatrick, he's kind of an enigma. Sometimes he's good some days, sometimes he's not as good as another day. Whereas with the Chargers, Tyrod Taylor, he's a starting caliber quarterback. Chargers are a team with a lot of talent. They're not a team like the Dolphins, who are kind of depleted when it comes to they're kind of young or depleted when it comes to talent. The Chargers are a more talented team, and that's why I think Herbert will sit on the bench longer than Tua.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, actually, I think Tua is going to be starting on day one.
Day one.
Yep.
Mm.
I do. Fitzpatrick is essentially a career backup, and he's fine in that role. So you might as well see what you got.
Yeah, I mean, I have no issue with that. I mean, Fitzpatrick started for a quarter of the teams. That's not a joke. He's played for and started for 8 teams. He's the Rams, the Bengals, the Bills, the Jets, the Buccaneers, the Titans, the Texans. Yeah, he just started for a quarter of the teams. It's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Tua start game one, and that's what I actually like to see. If I was a Dolphins fan, that's what I definitely want to see. So we have a big retirement that I certainly want your take on. You've already alluded to it. Joe Staley is no longer an active football player.
I'm really interested to see, his Hall chances, because in a vacuum I'd say, oh yeah, definitely Hall of Fame worthy. However, Lomas Brown was a 6-time Pro Bowler and an 8-time de facto Pro Bowl, and he's not even been a semifinalist yet. Richmond Webb, who you had an interview with, 4-time All-Pro, All-Decade team member, he's not been a semifinalist yet. So until those two make it, I think it's going to be a while before Staley does, if ever. But either way, I think you're just going to see, and if the trajectory of Hall of Fame stuff goes where I think it's going to go, where it's going to get bigger, we're going to see more moderns, you're going to see more seniors per year. Small Hall guys, shut up. I mean, even then, those same people just want their guys in anyway. They don't care. I think it would lead to, personally, him having a better chance. But even then, are you going to take Joe? I mean, as great as Joe Staley is, if you're going to put him in with Lomas Brown and Richmond Webb, are you going to go with Joe Staley before those two?
No. I wouldn't.
No. That's nothing against, and that's no shot against Joe Staley at all. It's just that, when you have a 8-time All-Pro, when you have a 6-time All-Pro who is an 8-time Pro Bowler de facto, keep in mind, Lomas Brown, one of our patron saints of this website, along with Ruben Brown, the Brown boys, the Browns that get no respect at all, as much as I love them, then no, I just don't see it until those two make it, or at least one of the two.
Yeah, and I think being sort of in the same initial class as a fellow offensive lineman, Marshall Yanda, does him no favors either.
Oh, no. Marshall Yanda made it unanimously on the all-decade team. I mean, but then again, there's a part of me that says, like, you should make the first ballot, but, Fanek still isn't in yet, and it took Hutchinson a couple years. So
right.
I don't know if Yanda was the first ballot. He should. I think, especially, like, with the way that, the world is going to be by then, I think the demand's going to be, like, almost hostile to the point that I feel like you need to, especially considering that he made it unanimously on the all-decade team. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, people don't really value all-decade teams. At least the internet does not value all-decade teams as much as people used to. So I wonder how much it's going to value. However, even then, people still unanimously agree Yanda was the best guard this decade. Doesn't matter who you are.
So any final thoughts on the draft?
I thought this was a good draft. I would say that as for real losers outside of the Packers, yes, and shots at the Cheeseheads again. I don't think there are really any big losers, but a lot of these guys, you got to see how it plays out in 3, 4, 5 years to see a genuine final grade.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly why why they always do the redrafts on ESPN or really all sorts of sites if they could sort of like do it over. I was just actually reading not that long ago that Mel Kiper once said Julio Jones was going to be an NFL bust because he couldn't catch.
Yeah, and Bill Polian, which I know NFL Twitter absolutely hates and thinks that some of them think he's a Klansman or something, which is ridiculous. They're basically equating how, Bill Polian doesn't know anything, even though the guy created the Bills' 90s pseudo-dynasty and the Panthers. He made them be very competitive, and he made the Colts a perennial contender. Yes, he had Peyton Manning, but he also drafted all those other guys to build around him.
It's the internet and digital era. Everyone's bad opinion is there forever, including mine.
Oh yeah, and like with Polian, especially with the whole wide receiver with Lamar Jackson, that you're going to see people, especially when you're on the Young Turks network, keep calling him a racist until the end of time itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been fun as always, and I'm sure we're gonna do this again. And again, fantastic job on Zenny's show.
Anytime, thanks, Kirk.
All right, take care. Thank you so much for listening, and look for new content from us weekly at notinhallofame.com. Stay safe, everyone. Safe, everyone. Safe, everyone. Safe, everyone.